know you're trying to get everything back in order and all, but just talk to me about what the main thing you guys have been focused on the last few days.
I think the first week's about, your fundamentals, your standards, how you practice, getting your body conditioned from, your summer conditioning program where you're kind of running around cones and that type of deal to, football condition, learning how to sustain through the course of practice. We started to introduce some situational stuff yesterday and today, and then next week will be a heavy situational focus. We're probably just about midway into the installs, for as far as what we're installing package-wise. So about midway through, so you can kind of evaluate retention. But I think the first week is all foundational conditioning, from the how you practice, the standards, sustaining through practice. So it's more of a foundation. We'll know more, going into Monday when we start kind of, all right, we've seen, 1 week of guys and how they prepare. The pads just went on yesterday. So being able to kind of evaluate true the physicality of the game now. So the first week is basically a foundation week for us.
And I know you don't want to talk about this yet, or at least I know not necessarily yet, but you guys have playing in certain 1, 2s, and 3s?
No, to this week it's really been, kind of a roll the dice. Obviously there are some guys the younger guys who we kind of, are developing the skill set, but the guys that we anticipate playing, like O-line wise, we've probably had 7, 8 combinations, a day, as far as who can play where, and then you evaluate where they do the best at, and then you kind of lock in. Moving into next week, we'll get a little bit more, hey, you 3 guys are guards, you 4 guys are tackles. Now that doesn't mean that you're 1, you're 2, but hey, you 4 or 5 guys are tackles, you 4 or 5 guys are guards. Now let's roll, 1s, 2s, and 3s with you guys to see where you are. Our young guys are still, getting work as well. So same thing with the D-line, hey, you 5 guys are inside guys, you 8, 9 guys are out, whatever it may be. But it's more of a, okay, what position, are you right now, inside or outside lineman? You 8 guys are safeties, you 3 guys are nickels. Now it's starting to roll. Once they get a little bit of consistency in a position, then we can start to evaluate 1s, 2s, 3s from there.
Off of that, could you kind of speak to the importance and the process of depth building through this? You don't have a whole lot of time right now, but obviously you need to create some depth at a place like inside back or tight end, maybe it's your nickel, stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that helps, because now you're getting a chance to see multiple guys in multiple spots, and maybe you're not, the best Mike backer, but you're the second wheel, but hey, if we have to make a change, maybe the starting wheel goes Mike, you go to Will. So it gives us a chance to see who can do what, who can retain what. That's why we kind of globally teach. We don't just say, hey, the Mike does this. The Mike does this in the defensive scheme, which is a piece of the puzzle. So if you understand the piece of the puzzle, then you can say, well, if I remove myself, what would I be doing if I was there? I think it's worked. It's worked for us, to kind of cross-train. I think a lot of people would call it cross-training. It's worked for us. We'll start to have a little bit more intentionality, into what guys are playing, what positions, as we kind of make the turn in the next week.
What do you look for the most? I mean, you put it on the helmets first 2 days, then the pads go on. What do you look for the most in this first weekend, starting next week?
The consistency. The first couple of days without pads,
Yeah.
the O-line, D-line is kind of a little bit of a, you want to protect each other, but you want to still have some physicality and some speed. But without the pads, it's a little bit of a disadvantage to the O-line. Then you put the pads on and you can kind of see it even out a little bit. I think moving into next week is the consistency. Some guys have did a really good job of plays in spurts. Okay, now who can string 4, 5, 6 plays together? Who can string 3, 4, 5 periods together? Who can string 2 or 3 days together? And that will kind of give you your 1s, your 2s, who needs more reps. We'll get to a point here where we know, hey, this group of guys is going to be our starting whatever. So now we can start working on that depth piece that you come into. in the next couple of weeks.
And what's your philosophy on QBs being live and scrimmaging and all that stuff?
Yeah, we aren't live. We'll kind of determine based on when we get some depth charts. Hey, how much live tackling do you do in a scrimmage? I think you have to do some. We spend a lot of time on fundamentals, but I think you still have to play the game fast. I don't get into quarterbacks live in the season. We do some in the spring, depending on who it is. Where we are now, I think Braylon and Liddy have been tackled enough in their careers. When you start getting into 2 and 3 transfers, you definitely hit the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Some of our younger guys, we've done before in the spring to kind of get them ready for it. But right now, I think we're pretty good.
This early on, are there any guys that we wouldn't expect or that you wouldn't expect coming in? You're like, hey, this guy, this group of guys, they're playing a lot better than what I expected.
My expectations are high. I think there's a back and forth right now at the D line, with a group of guys rolling. It kind of evened out a little bit, once we got the pads on, which is good. So that continued battle is going to continue to be interesting. I think we got a good D line. I think we got good depth at O line. Of course, the wide receiver, DB battle has been consistent. When you start stacking days in camp, you can really start to separate the guys that are ready to the guys that need more reps, because it's not just, hey, you did good today. It's, hey, can you recover tonight? Are you going to study tonight? Can you retain the next install? Can you be situationally aware? And can you continue to execute? So this next week will be big for us as far as kind of identifying the who's, and then from there we start putting them in their bus seats.
As I walk around the last couple of days in spring and a couple of days here, you get the distinct feeling that you've put together a pretty strong roster in a quick period of time. To kind of maybe compare and contrast, or how's it different recruiting down here as opposed to the other place?
It's interesting you say that. We do obviously a parameter study in our recruiting. This position's got to be in this height range, this weight range. This position's got to be in this. These got to have these skills. So we did a comparison from the end of the year height weights at the other place compared to initial day one camp height weights here. The exact same. They were the exact same across the board. Obviously, there's a good group of guys that are the same guys, but we brought in 20 some odd D linemen, and the heights and weight averages are the exact same. So the process works, right? As far as what we're looking for. Now, does that mean they play the same and react the same? No, but as far as having parameters on your roster and what you're looking for, you're not out here picking guys. You're selecting certain body types and certain characteristics that fit your slots, which for me, that's good to know, because that means we didn't just kind of smash and grab. We didn't, kind of vary away from our process in recruiting, which is good. Also good to know that, we felt like in the league, we were extremely competitive, height and weight, just purely bodies versus bodies. And we played some guys who were faster than us and vice versa. But we feel like at least in the league, in our competition, we're going to be as good as, if not better, maybe worse in 1 or 2 spots. But we feel like our competition level is going to be the same. We're not going to roll a high school team out there and play one of these really, really good Sun Belt teams. Now, that doesn't mean that you win a game or you get a first down, but you don't run into the deal where you look out there and you say, wow, that team looks bigger than us, or that team looks better than us. We should be, to the eye test, comparable. Now, we still got to coach. We got a long way to go. We still got to work on the mental discipline piece, the mental disposition piece. But from a structure, we're built the way we want to be built, if that makes sense.
Any other questions?
Good.
Awesome.
Some of our practice today, just a little take on it. I know you guys had a little bit of a struggling issue with the weather and this, that, and the other. Just talk to me about what's been y'all's main focus so far. Is it just trying to get through the drills, the walkthroughs, the strength? Just talk to me about the practice so far.
I mean, honestly, we're just focused on getting better every single day. We can't control what the weather does. We can't control any outside factors. We can only control what we do. So, we just go out to practice every single day. Whether that be a full practice, half a practice, or just the stretch. You know, we just go out there and we're trying to get better as a team. So.
I know you probably answered this so many times, but I guess I haven't asked you this. But why did you come to Southern Miss?
I came to Southern Miss obviously because of my relationship with Coach Huff.
Mm-hmm.
But when I came on the visit here, you know, I had a lot of other places I could go, but you know, this place just felt like home. You know, I'm from Texas, so you know, it's only 6 hours away from the house for me. You know, my parents are going to be able to come to most of my games. You know, this being my senior year, that was huge for me. But you know, this place just felt like home, and you know, I'm just ready to give the city of Hattiesburg something to be excited about again.
Can you talk about that relationship with Huff, you and him, and why it was so crucial to follow him for your career?
Yeah, like I said, our relationship is great. You know, he recruited me when I hopped in the portal the first time. He got me up there to the other place, and you know, I feel like me and him we've just been getting closer ever since that. Like, what, about a year and a half now we've been together, going on 2 years. But you know, I can't say enough good things about Coach Huff, honestly, as a coach and as a man. So.
Was there any doubt when he announced he was coming here that you were going to come here?
I mean, there was obviously some doubt. You know, I had other places I could go. You know, that I had to go through that process. But you know, ultimately, I had to make the decision that was best for me and my future. So.
Coach Anderson's offense is a little bit different animal than what you were running last year. I think you got a little more decision making to do here. You know, maybe some choice stuff for your receivers to read. Kind of talk about what you like about this offense and how do you think it opens up your skill set maybe.
Yeah, like you just said, there's a lot of options, and you know, when there's a lot of options, especially with a quarterback with my skill set, you know, it puts a lot of stress on defenses. You know, I'm able to hurt defenses with my arm, my legs, my brain, and then you know, when we have a lot of playmakers around me at the wideout position, at the tight end position, at the running back position, you know, it's really good. So I love Coach Anderson's offense.
Watching some of their cut-ups at Utah State, it looks like, you know, situationals, you know, turnovers, flipping the field and such as that. Coach likes to get vertical.
Yeah, he does. You know, we're gonna try to score a lot of points. We're gonna try to score on fast. So you know, that's what it is.
Piggybacking off of that question too, I talked with Coach Anderson last week, and he said, you know, he's trying to give you the option where you can be the one making the plays, and that's, you know, y'all are trying to confuse the defense. Is
Yeah.
what his option
Yeah.
was. Are you doing more of the studying of the playbook right now, of the game film, or are you trying to focus more on field, trying to get your body to adjust to that? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I have a great grasp of the playbook. You know, I've been here since January, been running the same stuff since then. So, you know, I have a great understanding of what Coach Anderson is trying to do and what we're trying to do to defenses, how we're trying to stress them. But right now, man, I'm just, like I said, we're just trying to go out there and get better every single day. You know, we brought in a lot of new guys in this second part of the summer. So, you know, we're just trying to gel with those guys, trying to get them up to speed on what we've already been doing in the springtime and then all throughout the beginning of the summer.
I guess on the flip side of Glenn's question, you know, obviously on the 3 practices in the fall, but what has it kind of been going like against Coach Seymour's defense?
Yeah, Coach Seymour, that guy with that defense. You know, he does a lot of things in practice that, you know, really put stress on me. You know, I have to always be on my stuff. You know, I have to know where the extra blitzer's coming from. I have to know where the overhang defender is that I might have to make a throw off of. And then our defensive line, you know, those guys wreak havoc. So, you know, it's gonna be good. I feel like we're gonna have a good year.
Is he using his defensive setup of the 4-2-5 against you guys?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
is
they're
it
working there. Just how we're trying to get better what we're doing on offense, they're working their stuff on defense. You know, we're not game planning to go against Coach Seymour, and they're not game planning to go against us. You know, we're just running our base stuff in practice, just iron sharpening iron every single day, just trying to get better as a team.
Last year at the other place, you know, watching some film, y'all had some nice weapons. But I think here, after, you know, you've seen you guys practice and looking at what you got here, I think you got some nice weapons here and some versatility, you know, from running back to slots to big tight ends you can flex, big receivers, small receivers like Micah with vertical speed.
Yeah.
Speak to the weapons you're going to have at your
Yeah, like you just named them. You know, starting the wide receiver room. You know, we got Micah Davis, SEC transfer, played with Coach Anderson in Utah State. Grant Page, another guy who was with Coach Anderson in Utah State, another receiver, a long guy who can make plays. You know, we got our guys that came with me from the other place. You got Carl Chester, a big outside receiver who can stretch the field vertically and make plays. Braylon Brown, good route runner, strong hands, can also stretch the field vertically, a big, strong guy. You know, and then we go to the slots. You know, we got we got Chuck Montgomery, really shifty route runner, great hands, really dynamic. You got Doc, probably the fastest player in the Sun Belt. You know, you got Smooth, just a savvy route runner, smart football player. You know, really explosive.
Kind of like your running back room too.
Running back,
three guys with
Matt
skill
Jones,
sets.
Jeffrey Pittman, and Robert Briggs. Those some dogs right there. All three of those guys can go. Any one of those guys can go for 100 any single day. And you know, tight end room. You know, we brought in some depth. You know, with Caden and TJ. You know, to help Kyron out. You know, I feel like we have a really good offense. We have a lot of good pieces that that are gonna make a good puzzle.
I know you spoke a lot about your offensive line, at least at the Sun Belt days. Just talk to me about, Coach Huff just mentioned you guys got 8 or 9 guys that can go into different segments of the game. Just talking about each one of those guys and how they've looked under your team level.
Yeah. We'll talk about the new guys first. You know, we brought in RJ, Los, we brought in Big Moose. Who else we brought in? It's
You
tough.
said there was one guy that was, I believe that was a Samoan guy from Hawaii.
Maui was here in January with us though, so you know, and then Maui also played with Coach Anderson at Utah State, so he has a great understanding of what's going on. You know, a couple of our offensive linemen also was with Coach Coughlin at Eastern Michigan, so they have a great understanding of it.
Coach Anderson said that guy got his respect from all you guys the first freaking day. I mean, just the way he played,
Yeah.
the way he showed up.
Yeah, Maui's a dog, man. Like, anytime you have a lineman who, they go out there with the stomach rolled up and hanging out, they don't care about what they look like. They just want to mash somebody every single play, and that's kind of what Maui is, and that's what he brings to the table.
Do you think you have some good faith in those guys, at least, and how it's helping you develop not only with the receivers and the running back, but how that's they feel like you feel comfortable with those guys?
Yeah, I trust those guys in my life.
You're an older quarterback. This is a new system, though. Is Blake kind of giving you the freedom to check off at times,
Yeah.
switch sides,
Yeah, I mean,
run strong?
Within the range of the offense, of course, we have checks for certain looks. We have certain, box checks. We have certain looks. If we get this look, we're probably going to check this. And obviously that'll probably, get deeper as we get closer to the season and we start game planning for teams. There's probably going to be a lot of stuff that we do have to get in and get out of. So,
You mentioned him a bit, but can you speak a little bit on Jeffrey Pittman and just your relationship with him?
that's my guy right there, Pitt, man. It's funny because I had some friends that were at his old school, and they told me that if he would have been on the field, he probably would have still been here. He never really got the chance at his other place. So I'm interested to see, and I'm excited to see what he's going to do this year because he's put in a lot of work. Yeah, he's a great guy. I remember in the summertime, when we were trying to get the team to gel, Pitt was on the grill. Grilled 3 rack of ribs by itself. So that's what kind of guy Jeff is. A team guy. You just want to see everybody win. So
Appreciate it, man.
About what you guys are doing in practice so far, how is that working out, at least for y'all right now? Is it just the drills, the conditioning? I mean, are you trying to get into some team reps? Or
Yeah, we're doing a lot of team. We're doing a lot of special teams. First program I transferred here from the state. This is like the first program I've been to where we have 2 different special teams periods. So it's special teams is huge. We have a lot of 9-on-9, 7-on-7, not conventionally, but the 7-on-7 where it's O-line, D-line, 7-on-7, a lot of team run, team force, conditioning after every day. There's a lot of running and conditioning and a lot of fast pace. Like the difference here is everything's fast paced, everything's moving. Like here, like we'll do hurry up offense and sub, even though that's illegal, but like here we're practicing super fast to make it so the
I
game
met
is
Coach
easy.
Golden last week. That dude's pretty energetic.
Yeah. Always energized, always. So.
Talk a little bit about what you like about this defense under Coach Seymour, and then obviously you're in his linebacker room. Can you kind of talk about how he's changed your game and improved your game?
Coach Seymour is an amazing coach, one of the best coaches I ever played with, been around, just in terms of football and developing me as a man, developing all the linebackers, all the defense. He's a great. The defense here is super huge on execution. Like how we practice, we don't like some programs. They go out there to practice to make corrections of practice. to like, it's okay to make mistakes at practice. You hear that a lot here. No, we go out there to execute. We prepare to execute. Everything's about execution, not perfection. Perfection is like, okay, everybody do this, do that, do this. Execution is, okay, even if you don't do this, somebody sees you not do that and like makes up for it in a sense. So if I'm supposed to spill this block and I box it, somebody overlaps and comes spills it for me, like that's execution. So it's just like cohesion and making sure everybody's on the same page is huge. And just from the linebacker's position specifically, like he teaches us what we're gonna do at the next level. Like everything we do here, they do at the next level. So that's huge. Like a lot of different schools may teach linebackers just because they may not know, or they may not they just don't progress it the same as Coach Seymour does. So I feel like Coach Seymour is one of the best linebacker coaches in the country, one of the best DCs in the country, and we're gonna have one of the best defenses in the country.
Did you play the Mike at Portland too?
Yes, sir, I played Mike. But here's a little different. Here at Portland State, I was Mike, but I was really a Will. Like, I was like for example, at Portland State, if it was 3x1, I would apex 3x1 side. Here, if it's 3x1, I stay in the box and the Will travels. So it's like, they're keeping me in the box, they're keeping me where, like, in the middle of the defense as the Mike. At Portland State, it was a lot different. So here is definitely better for me.
Less coverage responsibility.
Yes, sir.
Explain the 4-2-5. I mean, at least from the level of the linebackers, you have the Mike and the Will as the two. I mean, is that what we're talking
Yes,
about?
sir. It's the Mike and the Will, and then the star, or the nickel.
The nickelback.
Yeah, the nickelback. So here, like for example, my last school, here our nickel can travel. At my last school, we bumped everything, so motion, everything was bumped. So if it's 2x2, and you motion a 3x1, the Will will just apex, star will be in the box, and the Mike will flip over. Here, we can travel. Here, like the Will can travel to keep the Mike in the box. Like here, it's like it's based off. It's more like the NFL. Like the NFL is based off matchup. It's a matchup league. You're not gonna have your Will covering. You're not gonna have your Mike covering a slot. You know, and so it's like same thing oriented in our defense. It's about matchups.
In a coverage scenario, y'all working on not only cover two basic, but like a quarters or something and such.
Yes, sir. So like we do a lot of different things the same way, if that makes sense. We run a lot of different coverages. We run the same coverage a lot of different ways. So that means everybody got to know everybody's responsibility.
So the formation doesn't change. It's just maybe what you do, or is it the scheme that doesn't change? Formation might change.
Yes, so depending on the play, like the scheme doesn't change. Like if there's a play, well, the scheme does. Well, the call doesn't change.
I know
but the
what
scheme
you're confused with exactly
yeah.
right. That's
Yeah,
what I'm
yeah.
saying.
The scheme is the scheme. The scheme doesn't change, but based off the call, we may change the play based off what we see. So
In this defense, as opposed to what you did at Portland State, do you get more opportunities in this one to blitz the quarterback, the leg blitz, things of that nature?
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Way more. The blitzes here are like for example, for my last school, like when we blitz, it's just a blitz. Like if you're blitzing the B gap, you run at the B gap. Here, like you got a key. So like here, like some of our blitzes, if the guard blocks down, we pop it to the C. If the guard blocks out, we pop it to the A. Or if the guard pulls, we got to read out. Like it keeps you like honest and reading your key and actually knowing what to look at instead of just running in there and blitzing. And it doesn't take away from your violence, because when you see your key do something, you just go. So
Is your knowledge from that? Sorry,
You're good.
Is your knowledge from that game from like watching the game film or out on the field? Which one?
it's a mixture of both. Coach Seymour is very he's gonna learn how to teach you the best.
Yeah.
So we kind of do a mixture of both. We'll install it, and as a linebacker crew, we'll all go out there on the field and just go walk through everything we just installed. So it's a mixture of both, between doing it live and then watching it on the film, watching on the boards. So
I guess doing it live, what is it like going up against a quarterback like Braylon when you're having to install all this different things that you're not used to?
It's interesting. Braylon got me a few times today actually in practice, looking to the field and looking to the boundary, because as a linebacker, for example, like as a linebacker, if the back bullets, it's 5 out and we run the line. So like, because we know if the back bullet's out, the offensive line can't hold up. They're gonna have to get the ball out quick. If the back stays in, that's when they're trying to hold the ball and make sure everything ain't going downfield. But if the back goes out, you run the line. So Braylon does a good job of looking this way to get us to run the line that way, and then knowing to go backside. So Braylon does help us out every single day in practice with just our simple change of direction and things like that, and checking the play and everything like that. So now we got to check the play. So it's like, it's definitely a competition between minds, definitely.
Good.
Appreciate you, Mike.